Welcome in, Warchant TV, and the news is good. When you see that guy on your screen, senior recruiting analyst Michael Langston, you know good things are about to come your way. And let's find out what that is first and foremost. As always, like and subscribe and celebrate all things Warchant TV, and the content here. Right now, it's all about recruiting. Michael, let's talk about Ricky Knight, defensive back, South Florida, pretty much just less than 100 miles away from the University of Miami, and Florida State gets a win here with Patrick Surtain. Tip of the cap. Here we go. That's why he's brought in. Give me the scuttlebutt on Ricky Knight and why we should be excited.
Yeah, there's plenty to be excited. Finally got to commit. It's been a while. He had all these June visits, so there's a lot of good news and a lot of positive news. But finally, they broke through and got commitment from Ricky Knight. I think with Ricky, what I love so much is his versatility. His kid can play safety, he can play corner. You can move in certain sets. You don't have to lead the field. Very instinctful. Ball skills is what I love a lot. And I also love just his footwork. He always is in position to make a play on the ball. Sure, there's technique stuff that you can clean up, but I think what I like is he's always in position to make a play, and then that versatility. I loved it a lot. He was the MVP of the Under Armour camp in Orlando, and I'm talking about guys like Kai Bates, who a four-star. Kai Bates was there. Four-star Zay Mincy was also there, and he won the MVP. So that tells you a lot about his skill set, and also the fact that Patrick Surtain wanted him so badly. That tells me a lot about how sold they were on his skill set.
So for Florida State fans tuning into this and learning of Ricky Knight and his commitment, you always like to know about a kid's mentality. And I know at one point, Michael, he wanted to go somewhere where they played a bunch of press coverage. That tells you who he is, right? Like he wants to get up in there and get after it, trusts his ability, trusts his speed, his hips, all that. He's excited to do that, and he's aggressive.
Yeah, he is, and he's a good cultural fit. That's also a thing we don't talk a lot about all these kids is he's a cultural fit to like the other guys that they've added to this FSU staff, whether it's 2024 or previously. I think his mentality fits kind of what they're looking for, and he has that dog mentality in him. Like that's what they want. They want dogs. They don't want puppies. They don't want guys that kind of just play a little bit. They want guys that are aggressively going to go after it. And I think he's a guy that a lot of people will take a lot more notice of once the season starts. So I think a lot of people haven't seen as much of him except for the camp scene. So I think he's a guy that certainly this staff is excited about, and I think he's going to be a big commitment for them down the line.
Michael, Florida State, I believe, was the first to offer him, right? Just stayed tried and true all the way through. We always like when this staff, because they have now a pretty good track record of when they get on a guy early, they tend to not only succeed, but they're also really good at the evaluation part of it, seeing what they're going to be. Now, we don't know with Patrick Surtain, so this is a good first get. But Mike Norvell's track record and the rest of this staff, when they get on guys early or they like a guy quickly and they're the first to offer, usually that is a really good sign.
It is, and we've kind of seen this with defensive back with a guy like Kevin Noles, who really turned out really good for FSU. They love him a lot. He wasn't really highly regarded at that much because he played for a team that wasn't really a great team like Hollywood. I think MacArthur's where he played in South Florida. So I think with Ricky, it's the same thing. Did play at the Benjamin School. I've heard he's going to transfer to Cardinal Newman, but either one of those teams are like big, crazy big programs. But you got to focus on the skill. What these guys are. It's about getting the best players, not about whether it's high school or portal. It's about in the end, it's about getting the best player, and they feel like he is one of the best guys that they're recruiting.
So really quick, Michael, I think that this begins a process, or certainly it's now we're going to see the corner kind of turn in the eyes of Florida State fans who've been very concerned. You mentioned at the top of the video, not a lot of commitments, lots of visits, plenty of people with a lot of talent that are visiting, as you all know, over there in the sweltering heat, making sure you're on top of things. And it's great. I mean, that's where it starts. You got to build relationships. You got to get people on your campus. You got to be able to talk to them face to face. You got to let them interact with current players and the coaches. And so those are all wins for Florida State in the last year that they've been getting better in that way. But now fans want to see something tangible. They want to hear about the recruits who say yes. And I think it was probably brought on to an extent by the run that Florida had a few weeks ago. So Do we feel like, how many guys do you think, and then I guess in the month of July, are we expecting in total? Do you know?
I I would say around 6 or 7
Oh,
in the
wow.
month of July. So it's gonna be a very busy month for FSU. It might even be more than what I'm saying with 6 or 7. It might be a little more than that. It's gonna be a busy summer for them, especially July 4th. Get ready for July 4th. Though. Don't go to the fireworks. Stay on Warchant because you're going to see a lot of fireworks. I feel on July 4th. I think there's going to be some as far as FSU goes. So I think they're going to be very active this month. Obviously, the two names I think everyone the most focused on is Charles Lester, who's on the 28th.
Hmm.
It sides on the 28th, 5-star, and then obviously 5-star offensive lineman Jonathan Daniels. That could happen. I've heard on the July 4th or in early July. So those are two that could be significant and big. There's others, but I just think they're going to be very busy, and I think people's patience will pay off as far as the month of July.
Was this orchestrated? Was this something, look, a lot of times kids dictate terms in this situation? Obviously, they can decide when they want to commit and all of that and visits that they're going to take. But I am curious, a lot of coaching staffs we now know time these things out in such a way where maybe a kid wants to commit and they tell them, hold off, hold off. We got a plan in place here. And if that's the case, I'm just kind of curious. They wanted it more for July than last month?
Yeah, I think it was July is when they kind of wanted to make their move because some of the other schools are being aggressive, pushing to get the commitments like that weekend. That's why you don't see a lot of commitments from FSU from kids like right when they visit, and it irritates our fans. I mean, they're on there like, hey, all these other schools get commitments when they're official
Mm-hmm.
visit weekend, and I think the other thing is FSU doesn't pressure these guys. I mean, they let them figure out what's the best date for them. There's certain guys they do push for. And it's like, hey, we want this guy. Let's get it done. And there's some probably indications that they're coming. When they visit on that official visit weekend. But as I told people, self gratification is good, guys. But the main thing is getting the guys. So, um, I think the main thing is keep an eye on those guys that visited in June, officially visited that we've covered because I think a lot of them are going to be, going to be eventually Seminoles that you saw officially visit. But I think it's kind of orchestrated that July is kind of the month because July is a dead period. Then you go into a small little window, I think in July 25th through the 29th. Then you go back to another dead period because it's August and it's time for fall camp. So I think they really wanted to nail it in the month of July, but they also have left it to the kids of what date they wanted to actually pick out. But I think it was well orchestrated as far as what they wanted to do.
So there you hear it. He's the senior recruiting analyst for warchant.com. He's Michael Langston. You'll be seeing lots of him and a rotation of guys like me talking to him to figure out what's what with recruiting. You don't want to miss that. Like and subscribe to Warchant TV, warchant.com. That subscription you're going to want to get as well because Florida State football, obviously, on the verge of a big year, but also a big run in recruiting. So you don't want to miss any of that. Until next time, for Michael Langston, great job, Ben, as always. To all of you, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again down the road. I'm Jeff Cameron. Be good.